So when we started this podcast in January 2021, we were halfway through the season. Well, not halfway through, we're 3 months into the season. And we had to come up with predictions and work out what's going to happen. But now, for the first time ever, the top 4 podcasts can do their predictions at the beginning of a Premier League season. This weekend, the Premier League is back.
That's the way. Big claps.
Get in.
Hype the ting.
Come on.
Obviously, this is the top 4 podcast and top 4 football podcast, I should say. And we're going to do our predictions for the Premier League season, looking at who we think are going to come, you guessed it, in the top 4. Some outlandish, highlights from the last one. I just love Mourinho, but I'm over that now. I've moved on from him, so I won't be saying Tottenham coming top 4. I'll tell you that for free. But yeah, it's a season where City look like they're going to dominate, but a lot of clubs are moving very mad in the transfer window. Let's put it like that.
It felt like last season was like, obviously everyone didn't know what was going to happen with the COVID thing, so everyone was just kind of dawdling on making sure that other things were at the forefront of the club's mind. But it feels like now this summer they've all just pulled the trigger. They've all been like, we're going for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we knew kind of what happened last season. Another, especially the fans are back, makes a huge difference as well. So like, I feel like this is the biggest change in one summer for a long time, if you know what I mean, in terms of players in, players out, just rotation of managers. Like, I just feel that it's totally like the game's changed. So like, I think City are looking good, but I think there's other teams that are contenders.
Huge contenders this season.
I agree. I feel like it's more teams that can actually win the Premier League this season. In the last couple of seasons, it has felt a 2-horse race, really. Your Cities, your Liverpools. But I have a feeling like there's good 3-4 teams in there now that could generally win it. Obviously, I think City are still the favourites just because of the squad depth. And it's quite hard to predict at the moment because the transfer window is not open. So whatever happens this next 3 weeks could you think of City and Kane. That's sort of
It feels like loads of things are still up in the air though. Like in 2 weeks' time, it could be totally different again. Like, or not totally different, but some other players are coming again, which are quite big. Could be a surprise or not. But I don't know. I just feel like I think it's going to be a class season. I do.
Yeah,
that's
what I was saying earlier before. Getting proper excited. Obviously, with fans being back, it's going to be a huge compared to last season. It was just dead, no atmosphere front of the stadium. You could have on the fan noise; it didn't really make too much of a difference. It was all out of sync. Being able to go back to the pub, watching games with your mates, actually without having to wear a mask and things like that, throwing your pints all over the place when your team scores. Football's back. Like, can't wait.
Who's going to go first? Are we jumping straight into the top 4?
Let's get it while we're buzzing. Let's go for it.
I got for you. Obviously, I don't know. They're going to be quite similar, but I'll go first.
I think we're all going to have the same 4 teams in the top 4.
That's what I'm saying. I'm going to go first, so it looks like you're all copying me in. So
I know you got to choose first.
I'm going. City is going to win the title. United are going to come second. Then Chelsea. Then Liverpool. But if Chelsea sign Lukaku, which looks like it's going to be done
by tomorrow, yeah.
I reckon they could win it.
Oh, big.
That's just my personal opinion.
Big.
So, we should definitely do another prediction when the transfer window closes, though. I reckon.
Yeah. We'll have a few of these, I reckon, throughout the season.
But I still think, I'm just saying it to wind you up, Nathan, I still think that Liverpool are going to be in that 5th to 6th region.
Oh, wow.
I reckon.
Still? What do you mean it's still? We've been 5th or 6th for years.
Oh, no, in that region, you finished 4th. You're going to be in that region of 5th and 6th or fighting for that top 4 position, I reckon. So you're getting all defensive now, boy.
I'm just fucking rolling my eyes. I can't roll my eyes any harder at you over Zoom. Do you know what I mean? Fuck it, I'll go next then. I'm going to back the boys. Big bounce back this season. bit solid, bit more solid at the back. Hopefully, with a few, with Kanate. Obviously, some of the players proved themselves last season as well as backup to when we didn't have our first choice centre backs, which I think had a huge play in why we came fourth last season. We dropped off massively. So, all right, Liverpool are going to bounce back, go first, back to champions. I'd have to back my own team. I generally think Chelsea will be second, and I think Man United will pinch third from City. I think City will come fourth.
Ooh.
That's a big prediction as well.
Oh, I know, controversial. There's my shocker as well.
I'll go next because Tez looks deep.
Tez is thinking hard.
How can Grealish win the title?
I think he's thinking, should he order a wingman tonight and what he's having with it?
I'm thinking about what meme I'm going to make later. If you don't follow already, check out my Instagram page for wingman memes. Anyway, carry on.
Nice bag.
I think Tez is like, is there any way that Jose could come back to the Premier League mid-season and win it?
Yeah.
Can Roma win the Premier League?
Type it into Google furiously.
I'm going. I think Lukaku looks done. I think it's done deal. I think he's had his medical already. I think it was over in Italy, which is sometimes a bit weird when they have the medical away from the home ground. But I think Lukaku's going to rip it up. Honestly, I think he's going to hit the ground running. And I could see him banging a hat trick against United or something. And then there's going to be
just giving it the bit.
Yeah. There's going to be no sort of calm about it. He's going to be running up to the camera and that. And I think he will destroy quite a lot of defenders. I think he'll still have a couple silly one touches, but I think his physicality is something that maybe we've been missing in the Prem from number 9s recently. So I'm going Chelsea. I think that was something they're missing. It's, like I said, it is hard to say, not knowing with the window open. If Kane does go City, then it'd be stupid not to say City. But I'm going Chelsea, City, United, and I'm going Leicester fourth. I reckon it's going to go into a bit of my shock, so I won't get too much into it. But I think a lot of the players sort of run their time at Liverpool. Certain partnerships and that after a good couple of years they do sort of burn out and you need to freshen things up. But I'll go into that a bit more later.
Two of their best defenders are out for a while, don't mind, and they haven't replaced them. Fofana's obviously out now. James Justin's gone.
Do we all pick
shit on Liverpool a bit?
Do we all pick a different? Do we all pick a different league winner?
That makes you feel good.
Yeah, so far.
Interesting.
That's how close it is, though, and I agree with it.
I don't think it's difficult. I don't know if there's as many people. I feel like there's a lot of teams last season you thought could have won the league. I think if you go back to when we did the predictions in January, we all said different predictions for who we thought could win it. But I suppose Tuchel being at Chelsea adds another layer to the whole discussion. But I'm going to go. I feel like I really can't see anyone other than City winning the league. And last time we did this, I took the piss. I'm also like an idiot. I'm taking this seriously. So I'm saying City. All right. If they sign Kane, might as well just give him the league now and let everyone play against each other, and just fight for second. So second, I'm going to go Chelsea. Third, Manchester United, and fourth, Leicester City. Now, I'm not coming in with the Manchester United bias against Liverpool. My reason for this.
It sounds like we schemed at the pub earlier.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a little bit of a chat earlier on it. Yeah, nah. Sorry, but at the end, it's just your predictions. You say whatever prediction you want, even though it's wrong.
But what I will say is the reason why is Leicester won the FA Cup, big game. They beat in a big game for those players. Some of those players haven't had that opportunity. They beat. I know it's just a Community Shield. Psychologically, I still think that's a good win for them. And I feel like this season now, they're going to... Do you know what I mean? I still don't know if it's going to be pretty towards the end, but I just feel like this is almost like my Tottenham shout. I really want Leicester to do it. I really want them to get fourth. And I think they've got the players. And with what Pash touched on as well, Liverpool haven't really recruited and they're not got... The team is not what they were 3 seasons ago. Leicester have got some ballers. And... yeah, I think
what I will say about Leicester is they've signed that Daka from Salzburg. And I don't know how much game time he's going to get, because obviously last season when, well, definitely towards the end, obviously Brendan was playing Iheanacho and Vardy both up top. So Daka's coming from Salzburg, but have you seen his stats from the Bundesliga? Right.
From what you told me.
He played 28 games for Salzburg last season, and he scored 27 goals.
Yeah.
Now that's scary, right? But so if he comes in and just slots right in and, continues that form for any particular reason, I know it's going to be totally different. And, usually new signings from abroad take a season to like kind of settle in and know what's up. But I think, Iheanacho was on fire last year as well. So I kind of agree that, they're missing two of their best defenders, but I hope Leicester get in the top four as well.
Leicester always recruit well. I think they're up there with probably Liverpool in the actual quality of players they bring in and how quick the players settle in. So I think some of the, Leicester's new signings are probably going to be players that we say in a year that most clubs want to sign. And Leicester are really good at that. Very similar to Liverpool. They just do very smart business and don't pay that much either.
But that's if they don't lose Maddison as well, I think.
I don't think you go.
I don't think, what does he gain by going to Arsenal? I don't know, apart from a London lifestyle.
And being a solidly mid-table team.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was confused and I was like, wait, Leicester are a solid like top 6 team now, but I got it. It was a joke.
Yeah. Thanks, Des.
Made it funny.
But I actually feel like if they sold Maddison, Leicester are so good at recruiting, they'd probably get a better replacement. And 70 million for Maddison is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a stupid amount of money for him.
So if they got that, I would take it. I wasn't sure if we were going to leave the gap.
That's fine. I can just cut this out.
Bridge that in.
So go straight into relegation now. Yeah.
Yep.
Just go straight into relegation and shock.
So we talked about where we think who's going to come top 4, but it's only right we look at not the bottom 4. No one cares who comes 17th. We're going to look at the relegation, bottom 3, who we think's going to struggle. This is not one I've actually done much research on, based off the fact that I think it's going to be very, very easy. I'll go first as well on this one. Give you all a bit of time to, so you guys can Google who all the teams are in the league. Watford.
It's such a failure.
Watford and Norwich for me really are going to struggle, especially Watford. Only because this afternoon I actually realised they were still in the league, and Pash will back me up on that because we couldn't work out who the 20th team in the league was. But Watford, Norwich, and then for me it will be this is really good to listen to. I'm gonna go. It's gonna be Burnley. That's my 3.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll go next because it's very similar. It's only one difference. I'm thinking Norwich and Watford as well. I think Norwich just get kicked about. Remember when they come up? Was it last season or season before? They beat City early on, and then they just got battered by loads of people. So I think something similar. And I know I get to Norwich, Watford, and I know I said Newcastle last season, and then they pulled out the bag. But I think Newcastle will be the 3rd to go down.
Smart says.
I just remember I've changed my mind already. It's not going to be Burnley. It's going to be Crystal Palace.
Oh, that's literally what I was going on to next.
I was thinking about it. Fuck it, Crystal Palace might come 20th.
Yeah. I think they're really going to struggle because they've had a lot of issues, haven't they, with keeping players out of contract. But yeah, mine was Norwich and Watford and Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
I think they're really going to struggle this season.
I disagree. I reckon Watford are actually going to stay up. That wasn't my shock either, because I know we are going to go into shock this season.
You said it like it was a shock.
I know, but all 3 of you got Watford to go down, bro. They got some ballers, mind, right? Ismail Assar is no joke. João Pedro is no joke. Troy Deeney's got experience in the Premier League. I honestly think they're going to stay up, right? Norwich is definite for me. I think Norwich would be 20th. I reckon they're game over. I agree with Palace. I think Palace are in trouble. So I'm going Norwich, Palace. Now the third spot, I don't know. There's teams that jump out to me like Newcastle. I also think Brighton could get dragged down there. I also think Southampton are at risk, and I think they could have a poor season. So I'm going to go. I've got one other team in mind, but I'll get onto that in a sec. So I'm going to go Norwich, Palace, and Brighton.
Good show.
Interesting. Palace and Brighton to go down.
I reckon. I think Watford and Brentford will stay up.
Yeah, Brentford.
Got a tough season ahead, haven't they?
Brentford's the only promoted team that none of us have mentioned. Southampton, that's a really. Now you've said that, I feel like Southampton. You know, they just lost Danny Ings. I could be wrong. I don't think they've signed anyone apart from Theo Walcott on permanent. I don't think they have no one with a name. I couldn't tell you. So it'd be really interesting to see what happens there. But then that might lead into our shocks of the season. So before the podcast, all of us have to think of something that would be classed as a shock or like a surprise or like an outlandish prediction that you can make at the beginning of the season. You stick a tenner on this at the bookies at the beginning of the season, you might get £100 back, sort of thing. On a request a bet or something. So I'm going to go first with mine. And this can be based on a team or a player, something that you don't think is going to happen. So I'm going to go Aston Villa, right? Made a lot of signings, quality signings. Grealish is gone. I think they're going to have a really, really poor season and a really bad start. And my reason for that is how many mid-table teams, they're mid-table / top half team now, you could probably say, big history. I've spent so much money on these on players in the summer. I'm basically thinking about Everton and Newcastle and West Ham in the past. And then it just flopped big time. Manager's gone by this Christmas. Now, I don't think Dean Smith will be gone by Christmas, but I'll just worry with all these transfers coming in. Ashley Young coming to the end of his career. That's an interesting signing for a team wanting to do well. Buendia, championship baller. That could go one or two ways. Leon Bailey, if he's that great, why hasn't another team signed him? So yeah, Danny Ings gets injured. I mean, there's a lot of issues I have with these signings. So for me, my shock, whether anyone thinks it's a shock, is I think Villa are going to definitely be 15th or lower after 10 or 15 games. And I think they could be down there towards the end of next season.
It's a strange one, haven't they? Because they've made a load of good signings, like great signings. You look at their sort of potential lineup, it looks amazing. But like you said, it depends how fast these players gel and how long that takes. Does it take some of these new players? Usually takes new players from other leagues a good year to settle in. So it depends how fast they settle in. But I can see them not doing as good as a lot of people think, but I don't think they'll be sort of right.
I reckon it could go the other way though as well.
Yeah.
I reckon they could have a stormer if it works out. Like you said, if Leon Bailey's as good as he's turned out to be, Buendia has already kind of proved himself. Everyone rates him highly. You've already got decent players there, like Bertrand Traore was having a really good season last year. If it works out, they could have a similar finish, I reckon. But I don't disagree either. It's just I don't know. I have no idea. I'll go next because mine's pretty similar. And one of the other teams I was going to mention about potential relegation is Wolves. I reckon they could get relegated next season. Why? Don't really know.
Lost Nuno is one, isn't it?
Obviously, Nuno's gone. New manager. Jimenez is, he's coming back in and he's, up there with one of the best strikers in the league potentially. But I just don't think the team as a whole, they were really poor last season. Like they were hard to watch. So I think Wolves as well as Everton will have stinkers of season. I think Everton could come bottom half the table. And Rafa Benitez will be the first manager gone.
Interesting.
I like
so
that one.
you go for two shocks there. Wolves to really struggle, potentially get relegated, but then Rafa to be gone first. I think if any manager gets sacked before Patrick Vieira, it'd be a fucking shock. But
true.
Fair enough.
Yeah, true. I'll go, just pretty much mentioned it earlier, about Liverpool not getting the top four. Now, I'm with a lot of these shocks, what we've been saying. I think it could go their way. They could just come back and be class, and everyone sort of with Van Dijk back in the team. But you look over the history of football, usually, especially front threes, they don't usually last. It's usually about 3 years, and then teams usually freshen it up. And I think Salah's been there since 2017. I think Mane maybe 2016.
I was here before, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like, obviously last season was such a weird season with COVID and that, but it doesn't seem to be, Firmino as well, it doesn't seem like they're on the same wavelength as they used to be. They used to be so fluid and so scary on the break. And I don't know whether it's someone's falling out or they just burnt out in that way. But I feel like, obviously the window's not closed yet, but I feel like they need to be a bit more to freshen up. And they got Jota, and that started off really well. Depends how much he's going to start. I just have a feeling they might take a while and might get the 5th spot. And I think that'd be a big shock to a lot of people, to be fair.
I disagree. I think, boys, I picked him up before. Harvey Elliott's going to have a great season. He's coming into the senior team a bit more now. 18-year-old, wet behind the ears. He's gonna have a good season. Honestly, mark my words.
Is that your shock?
Is that your shock?
No, that's not a shock. That's no shock. That's no shock. I've been picking up for ages. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to go with Arteta being gone in the first quarter of the season. I think they're going to be. I think they got a really bad start, Arsenal. And yeah, you know what they're like. They love throwing out players. I think they've given them enough time now.
So within 10 games.
Yeah,
I hope that happens.
Yeah, I think it could happen. Like, I don't even think that'll be a big shock, like, because he's underperforming massively. And if Arsenal want to get back up into their sort of like, be known for their glory days again and start being like competing for Champions League, I think they got to get rid of him. Like, I think he's a bit of dead weight, to be honest.
I feel like I don't think he's that bad of a manager in terms of tactics. I just don't think
he's trying to.
I think his tactics are too good for his squad. I think his squad's so bang average. But remember last season they were down by we were speaking about earlier, weren't we, Des?
Yeah, they were down
the relegation zone, and like there was they were like floating around 17th, 16th, weren't they?
Yeah, was it fucking Roy was taking the piss as well? Roy Keane was taking the piss. Like, yeah. I think he said, "No, I think they've got what it takes to stay."
Yeah, and it wasn't just like for a week; they were down there for a good couple of weeks towards the start.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe he's had enough time now.
That's what I generally think. I think they're gonna have a bad start again, and they'll bin him off. But it's such a hard job to take anyway. It's a bit like, it's not as bad as the Spurs job. I think they'll recruit someone a lot easier, but it is quite a hard job because they've chopped and changed managers since Wenger was there. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. I don't know if that's gonna be much of a shock, to be fair, because I think it's quite expected if.
I think as quick would be a bit of a shock, as you're saying.
I think they will. Yeah, I think it's going to be the first quarter.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like, everyone's been giving him a bit of slack and saying like he's building the team, but you spend 50 million on an English defender who's played one game for England. You got to deliver results. That's a lot of money, and like obviously the money being talked about for Maddison, whether they spend that on him or someone else, like it's not like he's got no money. He's being given funds to do something. So
wasting it. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, Man United, that's a big comparison. This transfer window is obviously Varane like 43 mil and Ben White 50 mil. Come on, man! It's such a daft signing. Like if it was like 30 mil, I'd be like, oh, cool. Again, like a decent defender, but
it's not a daft signing if it comes out well, because
I could beat my words 100%.
But I just mean that like he's got the money, so like it's not just about Ben White playing well. It's just the fact that he's being given money to like build his team, and he has been given time. I don't know any other top 8 club. He could have been in the position that he was last season and survived. Yeah. I don't know any other team that would have. Yeah. Like I know United have gone through bad spells with Ollie, but it's never been that bad.
Yeah, I think his lifeline was 100% getting that FA Cup at the end of the previous season. That's his lifeline. I think that's what's carried him through this one. But they're going to crack down on him. And
what I did want to add on, the last thing, Aubameyang, like last season, I know he had malaria and that, but obviously he was just invisible. He hasn't scored a goal this pre-season either. We were speaking earlier, I don't know whether he was amazing before he got his contract, and then he got that new contract, and we've seen it with a lot of players. It's just gone downhill from there. I don't know whether he's just, the hunger's not there anymore, or he's just been a lot of stop and start. So I think this season is going to be really interesting. I think they haven't got any creativity as well. They do need a cam. I think that's what obviously going for Maddison. So I think they will maybe sign one more player before the end of the window.
Yeah. One more shot before we wrap up. Jadon Sancho, Golden Boot.
Golden Boot.
Yeah.
That is a
Golden
shock.
Boot. Jadon Sancho will win the Golden Boot.
That's ridiculous, that is.
Yes.
I love it.
I've just jinxed him now, haven't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, massive flop.
Thanks for listening to VARguably the best football podcast. Now, don't forget to follow us and like us on all social media platforms to keep up to date with the latest football news.